everybody, and welcome back to my channel, The Cutest Little Thing, Upcycle with Andrea. Today we're going to be doing some crafting together, a few projects. I'm just going to go in my stash and pull out a few things that we can work on together. I have a few ideas in mind, but I'm just going to start and kind of go from there. I'm not really exactly sure what I want to do, but normally once I get going, the ideas will just come to me and I'll just go with it. If you are new here, I'm Andrea and this is my channel. Thanks so much for joining me and hopping on to watch this video. I hope that you enjoy it, and if you don't mind, hit that like button, maybe even share it to a friend that you think would like it too. And if you haven't already, please subscribe where you can see future videos if you like thrifting, thrift flips, home decor, DIY, painting techniques, chalk painting, all of that. You're at the right place, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on any other videos. So thanks again so much. And don't forget to hop over. You can go over to my Facebook page, like my page, follow me on there, and also on my Facebook page I have all of my upcycled items listed, and even some antique and vintage items. I have them all listed and available for sale. You can contact me through that page about purchasing. So go on over, check that out, grab up any goodies you see that you love before they are gone. So let's go ahead and get going with our crafting today and see what we can get our hands on. Hey y'all, for this project we have these little silver platter trays. I thrifted them for 99 cents each. I love the design and texture that they have along the edges. I'm going to go and chalk paint these with my plaster. It's like an ivory color in the Waverly chalk paint. I have my paint right here ready to go. I also have added some clear wax to my paint. That's just going to, I already have it mixed in. That's just going to help the paint adhere to this surface because I don't want any texture with this for the look I'm trying to go for. So I don't want to add baking soda or sand or anything like that for texture. So the wax being added to my paint is just going to help seal this piece as we go. So let's get started with this first coat of paint. Okay, you guys, we have our first coat on the top. We're just going to let this dry really, really well, completely, and then we'll go with our second coat. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the back of this piece because I always forget to do the back and I have to go back and do it later. So this time we're going to go ahead and do it. Okay, now time for our second coat on these. Okay, our trays are dry. Now I'm going to go, I got these cute little transfers in from Amazon. I'm just going to go and put one on each of these and then seal it, and this project will be complete. All right, y'all, I think I've decided on these two little birds on this branch, and then from this sheet I'm going to cut this hydrangea flower and kind of put it up in the corner of my tray like this. So I think that'll look really good for our tray. So we'll go ahead and get that on. Okay guys, now that we have our transfers on, I just want to go, I have a wet cloth here and I'm going to go and wet distress just around the edges, all around that pretty detail and texture. I just want to wet distress this and let that silver color pop through some. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take some clear wax in my Waverly Inspirations and go ahead and get a coat of that on and seal this piece, sealing the paint as well as those transfers. Okay, we got our piece, got the wax on it. We're gonna let this dry. As you saw in the video clip, I was wet distressing and it weren't quite giving me enough of the distress look that I was wanting. So I just went in with my 220 grit sandpaper and just lightly went around the edge over all of that detail and got some more of that pretty silver color to pop through. So I'm loving that, loving how this is looking. So we're just gonna let this dry. Okay, y'all, so I went in my stash and I found this picture frame board and I think I'm going to use it to create something with my tray here that I have painted, and I'm going to do, still going to do the transfer on it. But if you can see, I don't know if the video's picking it up, but there's some type of gel that they use to go over these leaves in this, so it's like raised texture. So I've already taken like a butter knife and scraped some off, and it is coming up pretty well, so I'm going to continue to get all of that off, and then I'm just going to take it and lightly sand over it with my 220 grit sandpaper. And then I'm thinking of gluing the tray on. Well, I'm going to do some kind of paint job onto this, some kind of painting technique. I haven't quite decided. But then we'll just glue this piece on here, and I'll get something put in the frame over here. And this is going to be so cute. I'm so excited. Okay guys, we are ready to paint our board. I have decided I'm going to go with the elephant in the Waverly, which is a gray, and I've already got it in my plate here, and I added a little bit of water just to thin it because I didn't need it, you know, quite so thick going on this material. And once I get that on and it dries, I think I'm just going to go and dry brush on some white just to, you know, give it a little bit of a two-tone look, and then I'm going to go and distress it with some sandpaper. I do think I'm going to go and add some white wax to my paint just to go ahead and have that wax so it will seal it as we go, and I won't have to worry about that step. It'll be done. And also, being this is white wax, it'll lighten that gray up just a little bit. I like the dark gray, but for this project in particular, I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit of a lighter gray. So I'm going to go ahead and get that added in, and we'll be ready to paint. After the 2 coats dried, I went and I had a little bit of touch up to do right there around the frame, so that's gonna dry. I went and took the back of the picture part out, and when I did, I was like prying it with a butter knife to come out from the back, and when I did, it cracked the glass that was in there, but I'm really not worried about it because I did a project similar to this one a few weeks ago, and I ended up not even putting the glass part back in the frame. So I'm just going to do the same thing with this picture frame. And I have some drop cloth here. I'm going to cut a piece to fit my little square and get it glued on. Okay, now that we have our piece of drop cloth cut, I just laid down the piece of cardboard, the backing to the picture frame part, and I'm just going to lay that down. And I have my hot glue gun. I have it on the low setting. It's best to use your low heat for fabric. So we're going to hot glue this all around the edge. I'm just going to do one edge at a time, just to make sure our glue doesn't dry before we get our fabric down how we want it. Okay, now the other side. I think I'm going to have to get me another glue gun. This one, I don't know, it's like the glue, it gets hung up and doesn't want to release the glue. So I may have to replace it with another one. Okay, and just fold that down as well. And if you have a lot of excess right there, you could trim it off with your scissors, just so it doesn't get in the way when we try to put it back in our picture frame. And I'm just going to make sure my fabric is pulled tight, so we don't want any wrinkles in it. Now we'll do the other side. Okay, now from my little top part, and just do a little dab of glue right there. And last side. Okay, I think I'm going to trim these back just a little bit. Just because I still want to be able to glue that down. but I'm going to trim off a little bit of that material, that fabric. So we don't quite need that much. And then it won't be bulky and hard to put back in our frame. Because I hope it goes back in there okay. A little more glue right there. All right. I think this color of this drop cloth, this natural burlap color is just going to pair so nicely with the pretty gray color that we painted our frame. And then also it's going to pair so well with the tones in the little birds, those natural colors in that stick and in their bellies. So I'm getting so excited to see this finished product. I decided I wanted to go with some wording, and I had this Home Sweet Home stencil in my stash. So I'm going to go and center it the best I can because I want it to be center on that piece of cardboard, on that piece of drop cloth. And I'm going to use, I still have some of my paint in my plate there, and this color of our frame, and I'm just going to go and use that same color on our Home Sweet Home stencil. Okay, just finishing up with the stenciling. As you can see, I just kind of dab into my paint, and then I just kind of offload a little bit. And then I tend to go with a back and forth motion. And then sometimes I kind of swirl and go in like a circular motion. It just really all depends on the amount of space I have in whatever I'm stenciling. And as your paint dries, wherever you put it, as it dries, you can kind of see if you need to go and touch it up. And it all depends on the look you're trying to go for. You know, if you're wanting like a distressed look, you may not want full print. Like I had to go back over some of my letters because you could see as the paint dried, you could see some of that drop cloth in the lettering, and that would have been fine. You know, that look is fine, but for this project, I was just wanting full coverage, you know, in my paint for my design. But it just all depends on what look you're trying to go for. And there we go, guys. I absolutely love it. I think it looks very pretty. Okay, just gonna get this placed back in our frame. Just carefully. Gonna make sure all my little tabs are bent back. Just had to push a little bit on it since we had our cloth, you know, around it. But at least we got it in and got our tabs over it. And there it is. I love how that looks. Now I can't wait to get the little birdies on the other side. I almost forgot I was going to dry brush on some white, and I remembered because I went to put my little birdies on and it was just, the white was too white for the gray and the burlap color in the frame, and I started to say, well, I need to do some antique wax on this platter to kind of tone that down a little bit. And then I remembered that I was going to do some dry brushing on this piece, on the gray piece. So I'm going to do that, and hopefully it'll help it blend a little bit better. And if the white's still too bright for it, I will just do some antique wax, some watered down antique wax on it. Okay, so I've just got some white on my brush. When you dry brush, you don't need much at all. And then you just kind of blot it off. And then I always like to start around my edge, because if it's too much, it's okay, you know, to be heavier around the edge. And then I'll go and do it in the middle. And I kind of get my stroke how I want it, and kind of get a feel of it before I, you know, do my brush strokes. And here it is, you guys. I love how this turned out. All we have left to do, I have some wood glue here. I don't have any E6000 on hand, or I would use that. But I think the wood glue will be fine because of this being wood. And then I'm also going to use hot glue. That hot glue will dry almost instantly, so it'll hold it in place, while the wood glue will take a little more time to dry. So once we do that, this will be complete. As you saw in the video clip, I decided to go and add some antique wax to both my tray here. I love how that looked. And then after I did that, the white that I dry brushed on the board was a little too bright, so I decided to go and add antique wax onto it as well. And I just did it very lightly. I had my antique wax watered down to a very watery consistency, and I was just very careful and lightly brushed it on in small areas at a time, and then I would wipe it back with my cloth. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this project, doing this project with me. And we're going to get this glued on, and then I'll stage it up and take some pictures. Thanks so much for watching.